This is the Horse Radio Network.
You've just landed in episode 567 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by EquestrianCollections.com, where you'll find brand name products at great prices for every season. Hi, Coach Jenn here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from me, Coach Jenn, and my good buddy from the Stable Scoop show, Helena B. We'll be getting together every so often to chat about those nifty little tips that pop into our heads at odd times and then just smolder in the back of our minds, causing focus deficits during work hours. Today's tips are random thoughts and interesting ideas on hay and other stuff. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Equestrian Collections. EquestrianCollections.com has everything for the horse lover, from A to Z. Ariat footwear to Zoc socks, Amigo blankets to Zilco strap goods. They carry an astounding array of name brand products, and they offer unlimited flat fee shipping options if you're the indecisive type. Stop by EquestrianCollections.com for a world of choices delivered right to your door. Now, enjoy today's tip. This is a random tips episode, and because it's really weird talking to myself to do tips, Helena B., my best buddy and pal in the whole wide world, is here to help me out. Welcome, Helena B.
Well, thank you very much. What do you mean it's weird to be talking to yourself, but you do that anyway?
Not out loud.
Yes, you do. Or maybe that's me. Oh, wait, that's me.
It does slip up every once in a while. You're talking to yourself, and every once in a while the volume accidentally goes up. And it's like, oops.
I was at Equine Affair yesterday, and I'm looking at all these products, and I'm touching, and I'm processing out loud. I'm actually talking to myself out loud, and the people in the booths are like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not talking to you.
I'm talking to my imaginary little friend here."
Speaking out loud, they're like, "All right, move along, then, miss."
Oh, I'm jealous. You were at Equine Affair yesterday. Was it awesome?
It was awesome because I was by myself and I had pretty much all day just to browse, and really, I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I didn't feel like hearing anybody spiel or about their product. I just wanted to touch and feel and look. Mm-hmm. And I had a very relaxed approach. Like I wasn't there because I needed anything, or I had no agenda. Mm-hmm. And that made it really fun. Really, it was pretty awesome.
Wow. It's nice when you can really make your day your own. No obligations. Just don't even need to talk to anybody. That's very relaxing.
It was very anonymous. There was plenty of people there, but I could just sort of float through, and I didn't even, how you go to these things and you're like, oh, I see so-and-so from that farm and so-and-so from the other farm. Mm-hmm. I just kept my head down and said, I really don't feel like socializing. I just want to touch things. I did, however, try on a special riding bra, which
really
we're gonna do on our Tack and Habit segment.
I have to tune into that. Very interesting. Now, is this a standardized sports bra that a sporting goods company makes, or is this one made by somebody specifically for riding?
It's made specifically for riding. Well, I don't want to say it's specifically for riding. It's made specifically for women who have the bouncy issue.
And who doesn't?
Well, even when you're little like me, you'd think that you don't have the issue until you put this bra on and you go, whoa.
I guess I did.
I guess I did. Life is so much better when you're properly fitted with undergarments.
One of these years, I've wanted to do this for a long time, to do what not to wear for equestrians.
Totally.
And I want to do it for the horses too. What not to wear for horses, because certain types of bridles look better on certain types of horse faces, and certain types of saddle pads make certain types of horses look really frumpy.
Yeah.
It works for both. And I've wanted to do that for years and years. So maybe someday after I win the lottery and I can hire lots of people to help out.
Okay. I remember I don't want to say not too long ago, but a while back, I don't know if it was Practical Horseman or there's the Horse Illustrated. There was a color wheel the purpose of the color wheel was to show which horse colors looked good with tack.
Yeah, you emailed that to me. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And it was mostly for, I guess it's the Western pleasure market there.
Right,
But I thought that was great.
Well, it is. It does make sense because even in the show hunter world where colors are pretty limited, there are still things that go on you and your horse that can be bad choices. You know, when super wide nosebands were in, there are certain shapes of muzzles on horses that a super wide noseband just looks dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh.
And little stuff like that. You know, what size braids go on their neck? You know, the little tiny braid does this visually, and the big fat braid does this visually, and stuff like that. So
we need to do that. What not to for horses, and even definitely do not match those breeches if you're pear shaped. Do not wear these breeches. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because even the cut of your boot makes a difference whether or not it has the Spanish top on it and stuff like that. You know.
Yes, indeed. So should that be another show?
Yeah, we should probably get to the point, shouldn't we? That's why it's random, folks. Random. This is random babbling with tips thrown in. Maybe
you're just going to have to sit and listen to Jen and I babble away and then pay very close attention to the treasures that we're going to share with you.
That may be included. Well, today's tips are about hay nets and hay. Two topics I'm very passionate about, and I know you are too, Helena.
Yes.
This first one, I'm pretty sure I got this idea from Peter.
Yes. Peter, when he was taking care of my horses when I was laid up after surgery.
Yeah. Lots of folks in the world use hay nets, and there are lots of other folks in the world who don't use hay nets because they're a pain in the you-know-what to fill for most folks. I'm sorry, it's just easier to chuck it over the door. And it might have been on your Facebook that I saw this. Peter discovered this, or maybe Helena discovered it and told Peter how to do it.
No, Peter discovered this one. All on
his own. You get yourself a trash barrel, or probably a muck tub would work too, a clean one. And you drop your hay net into it and put it in there like you would a trash bag so the edges are hanging out over. You dump the hay in, you grab the edges, and you close it up, and you're done.
Yes. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Why did it take the mathematician, brilliant dude to figure that out? Why couldn't we figure that out during the hundreds of thousands of hay nets we've filled over the years?
I think it was the different mindset. Peter's always thinking about ways. He's a problem solver by nature.
Oh, and so, you hit on it right there.
We
never saw it as a problem.
Exactly.
For us, it wasn't a problem. It was just what we did.
To us, it was just the cost of doing business. I mean, we go into the barn and we're looking at how much water did they drink? Is anybody swollen or itchy? And who laid down overnight or whatever? So we're looking at them. And I think the horse husband, who's sort of this temporary caretaker, is coming in and saying, well, how can we make this process easier?
Because he saw the filling of the hay net as a problem versus just, like you said, the cost of doing business.
Right. Well, I remember when you first introduced hay nets to the barn at Myopia, and we had a lot of them to fill. And oh my gosh, I was like, I can't believe I have to do hay nets.
You weren't on the boat right away. No.
I didn't hate it, but it was so difficult because there were just so many to do. But I was so happy.
I think it was 40 a day, I think, or thereabouts, 40 or 50 a day?
Yeah, it was 36 a day. Can you tell it left an impression on me?
Yes, you had them counted.
Yeah, because I did. I would be up in the hayloft and I would have to count them and weigh them too.
Yes.
Which really, honestly, that ever since then I've been a hay net fan, a huge hay net fan. So where am I going with this? So you get somebody who has a fresh perspective and comes in and says, if I could save, in other words, he's not invested in their care as we are. So he's really looking for, how can I make this less frustrating?
But he knows he has to do the hay net or he will suffer the wrath. It's not like, oh, this is such a pain, I'm just going to throw it over the door. No. Right. It's a pain in the neck, but I think it's fabulous. The next time I have a bunch of hay nets to fill, guess where I'm going?
Well, and what helps too is, the thing is I haven't been using it. I haven't been using that method as much as I should because our trash can has trash in it. So you actually have to have a can devoted to this.
A designated can.
Which, you know what? If you just make the effort, the next time you're in Home Depot or Tractor Supply or wherever you are, pick one up for whatever it is, $18.
Yeah.
And it will you can use it for a lot of things besides trash. You just put your hay nets in it.
Heck, you go to the Mega Box department store, and the little lightweight plastic muck tubs are $7.95.
Yeah, as long as it has something on the edges to catch the rim of the hay net, like the opening, it has to sort of secure temporarily around the rim.
Now, do you use hay nets made of nylon rope or cotton rope?
I've used both. And right now I'm using nylon because I use the small opening hay nets because...
And we're that segue into our next tip.
Yes, because my horse Pie and many like him they'll just totally plow through their hay, and then they're left for the rest of the night with nothing to do, and then they get into trouble. Even if they're allowed to go in and out. So I use the small hole hay nets, and right now the affordable ones only come in nylon. So I was very careful in introducing them to my horses. I know that they're pretty responsible in their stalls. I'm not too worried about them getting hung up on the nylon. I would prefer cotton, but
they just don't. They don't make them out. The small holes aren't available in cotton. They're available in a wide variety of non-natural materials. But it seems that the weaving process to create those small holes is an automated process, and it's not knots like you would see. A cotton hay net, those are proper little knots in each little section. In a small hole hay net, which are genuinely small, and I just got one for Beaker, and I love it.
Right.
Those, they're not knotted, so to speak. They're woven right into, it's like a net more than it is, it's a very different beast. When I got it, I went, wow. And it's stretchy. It makes me think of a giant nylon.
They get their. That's because that's what we started with, is with the cotton, and when they really want to get the good stuff, like for Pie, he's on first cut because he's a little porker. So what I do is I kind of squeeze in the second cut in the middle of the first, and he digs.
He drills a hole in it, doesn't he?
He drills a hole, and that cotton does stretch, which basically defeats the purpose. So and if it's a well-made cotton net, I don't think it's going to break any sooner. I don't think it's any safer than the nylon.
It's been my experience that when they get hung up in hay nets, whether it's cotton or nylon, it's bad news.
Exactly.
It just is, regardless of what it's made of. It's just plain old bad news.
Exactly.
Use them accordingly.
Right. So assess your horse's personality, stall personality, hay net personality before you hang any net.
Yeah, hang any net. Luckily for me, like your guys, Beaker is reasonably mannerly in his stall when it comes to that kinds of thing. But I do have to make sure I hang it high enough that it doesn't droop once it's empty. But I was really a little like, really, it's going to slow him down that much? But it really did help because he's a porker too, like Pie. They're cut from the same mold, those two. And it really did slow down his eating. He gets the same amount of food, but it lasts a lot longer, and that's good for both his mental health and his digestive health. So I'm thrilled to death. Before I got my small hole hay net, I was taking Beaker's hay, and I just figure out something to slow him down. He can eat 10 pounds of hay in 15 minutes easy. Just inhales it.
Yes.
And I thought, well, horses who are bedded on straw will frequently, they'll smooch around and they'll pick out good, yummy bits of it, and they kind of graze on it a little bit to some degree or another. Some of them eat it all, and some of them just graze a little here and there. And I thought, well, give it a try. So I was taking his hay, and I would fluff it around the stall just like you would straw. The whole floor would be covered with just a very, very thin layer of hay. And that did help. At least he moved around in his stall. He'd pick through it in more of a grazing kind of a posture, which did help. It didn't slow him down like the small hole will, but instead of 15 minutes to eat all of his hay, it at least would be an hour and a half, and we'd walk around a little bit. Right. So it was a useful technique, actually. Yeah, who'd have thunk?
Exactly. Like, you never know where this stuff is going to come from. It just sort of, it presents itself to you. It's like you see the same thing every day, and then one day you see it from a very slightly different angle.
Yeah. Well, I got the idea because when I first got him, I bedded him on straw because I'm a straw person. I'd really rather use straw. Yep. But we have concrete type floors in the barn now. And in order to bed on straw, you really need to put like a foot in there, which is just not practical. So I knew he surfed around. And believe it or not, he doesn't eat 100% of the straw. He only eats 50% of it. And that's what kind of gave me the idea. And I thought, well, we'll give it a try. And, if you have a keeper that likes to live on straw, the hay they don't eat, leave it in there, let them sleep on it and use it up anyway.
That's what I do. I mean, Zeke is, I have the hay net for Zeke as well, but it's easier for him because he's older. It's easier for him to eat it off the ground. Right. And so
he's kind of stiff-necked at this point in his life.
He is a little stiff-necked. And the other thing too is I leave the top half of his Dutch door open at night. He gets locked in at night because it's the only way I can make sure he gets his second cut, his good food, and Pie does not. So Zeke stays in at night, but his Dutch door stays open. However, Mr. Fatty Pants comes over and is flexible enough to reach in through the Dutch door and stretch to get the hay net.
And Zeke just lets him do it.
Well, he gives him the monster face and flattens his ear and stuff, but he concedes to Pie. So anyway, during this time period, I've been putting it on the floor, but Zeke will spread it all around.
Oh, he's a mess, isn't he?
He's a mess. It goes all around the edges. So now I just fold it into his bedding. And it's, we have really dusty shavings, and I think that's something that we need to talk about in another horse tip section because, bedding could be its own show. But
we'll put that on the list of random tips is helpful hints for dusty bedding, wet bedding, no bedding, yada, yada bedding. Yeah, we'll keep that on the list.
But food that doesn't get eaten can certainly be slept on.
Works for me. That little babies have been doing it for centuries.
Exactly.
Look, there's Cheerios in Junior's bed. Yeah, sure. Single men between ages of 18 and 25 have been doing it for years.
Indeed. Yes, I am now married to one. He was definitely of that type. Yes. In fact, I think he probably is just starting to get out of that phase now.
He's just growing out of it. Now that Gracie is old enough to not do it, she's demanding that Daddy doesn't eat her.
Exactly. She's starting to come to my side. She was on the dark side, and now she's starting to see the light that Mommy views the world with.
Oh my goodness! And our third little random tiplet for the day is another pet peeve of mine. Take a few minutes to educate yourself on what species is going into your horse's mouth. I can't tell you how many times over the years. What kind of hay does your horse eat? Timothy, brome grass. And then you look at the bale and go, no. That's not what he's eating. And it does make a difference. Different species of grasses have not only different calorie content, different protein content, and different carbohydrate content. And a really hot topic right now is, simple carbohydrates, sugars in your horse's diet. And the species of grass, as well as when it was harvested, does make a huge difference on what your horse is getting. So you might think you're doing your horse a favor by feeding him lots of hay because it's better than sweet feed for a horse that shouldn't be having sugar. But you might be feeding your horse a hay species or grass species with a pretty high natural sugar content. So all you got to do is go to Google Images and type it in. And if you look for the photographs or the drawings that have the seed head on it as well as the leaf, it'll show you different pictures at different levels of maturity. That's the easiest way to tell. The seed head is really easy. When it's pre-seeded in real early in the year, it's a little harder to tell. But do yourself a favor and get comfortable with what they look like. And when the hay guy sells you hay and you say, I want Timothy grass hay or I want alfalfa orchard grass hay, make sure that's what you're really getting. When he shows up with a whole bunch of bales that look like they're made out of embroidery thread, guess what? That ain't Timothy.
Right. What is that?
That's fescue.
Fescue, right.
Lawn grass, basically.
It's funny because I have, when you put in your Google search engine, Timothy hay, it also comes up with related searches with links to orchard grass hay and fescue hay. So it's it really doesn't take it doesn't take as much time to research this stuff.
Oh no.
As you think, but it's a good Saturday or it's a good rainy day project if you're.
Yeah, and with images specifically, it's so easy because all it does is bring up pictures. If you do it on and just search the web for Timothy hay, you're going to get 1,000,001 articles on the nutrition, how to grow it, well, which is great, but that might not be really what you want. If you want to just see what it looks like so you know what you're feeding your horse, just hit the images button. It's a real shortcut.
Yes.
Because many of us buy our hay through local farmers whose fields are frequently mixed up. There's all kinds of stuff growing in there, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know what that mixed up stuff is.
And that's one of the challenges that I found in purchasing hay is that sometimes you have to take what they have, to a certain extent. And you say, gee, I would really like orchard grass. And, well, you know what? The farms that we buy from are primarily Timothy, or there's a mix.
Mm-hmm. And in some parts of the country, certain species of grass do not grow well. Therefore, you're not going to find it.
Right. Or the farmer that sells you, or the farmer that grows Timothy might have had a bad growing season.
Right.
And, therefore the Timothy's not available. So this shipment is actually going to be mostly orchard or fescue. So, you are a little bit at the mercy of your supplier.
Mm-hmm. Unless you go with a national distribution company, for example, Lucerne or Stanley are both companies. They're wholesalers technically because you buy Lucerne or Stanley hay through a tack and feed supply store.
Right.
In those cases, what they do is they grow hay in ginormous quantities in areas of the country where hay is very happy to grow, and then they ship it around to different parts of the country. And it's very common in the racing industry because those horses ship all over the world, and they want to keep a consistent food supply for them.
Yeah. But isn't that more expensive?
It is more expensive. For example, around here, if you buy directly from the farmer, you can buy, and we're in Lexington, Kentucky, you can buy this year in 2011 a 35 to 40 pound bale of mixed up hay, because locally here in central Kentucky, they don't grow Timothy or orchard grass. It's mixed up. Even when they say it's Timothy, it's mixed up for $5 to $7 a bale, but it's a 35 to 40 pound bale of mixed up. When you go to a national hay supplier where if it says Timothy on the label, there is nothing else in there. It is completely, and then you can even buy it certified, so it's certified by the FDA to be 100% Timothy. And which is great for people who ride at national parks because they don't want things being dragged into their facility and taking seed and overtaking the native species. You're going to pay $15 and up for that 50-pound bale, which is guaranteed to be 50 pounds.
Now, that's a topic we need to explore in more detail, probably not in a tip segment, but feeding your horse a pure grass type so that it doesn't spread.
Put that on your list for Stable Scoop. There's some excellent stuff. Probably the ladies and gentlemen over at the Equine Land Resource Conservation.
Yes.
Those gals and guys are great. They can hook you up with some very interesting and very educated folks that are up to speed on the current trend there, because there are certain parts of the country that invasive species are a huge problem, and grasses and weeds that are common in your average bale of little farm, it's common, and they just don't want that being brought into Yellowstone National Park, and 20 years later they're going, oh my God, now what? And they're really being very forward thinking about that. So put that on your list. I think it would be a fascinating conversation.
It really would be. I mean, the pros and cons are going through my mind right now at breakneck speed.
Yeah. Now the advantage to going with a national hay supplier that can say, yes, your hay is 100% such, or for example, if you buy from one of these companies a hay that is Timothy alfalfa, which is not a naturally occurring product. Timothy alfalfa, those two species mature at different times of the year. So when you see mixed alfalfa hay, it's generally not mixed with Timothy, it's mixed with orchard grass because they mature together. They're ready to be cut at the same time. But you can get Timothy alfalfa through a chopped hay company because they harvest it first and then mix it together. And it's guaranteed to be 40% this and 60% that. So you create a consistency in their diet. And there are some horses that do really, really well on that. Certain poor doers, certain horses that lose their appetites, horses that travel a lot, that consistency can be really, really good for them. And again, another reason to understand and be able to recognize the differences in the different species of grass. Johnson grass, common here in Kentucky. It grows practically wild. Bad news for a horse. Really shouldn't be feeding it to him.
Why?
But it is baled as fodder sometimes. But if I hadn't taken the time to go, Johnson grass, never heard of that. Let's look it up.
Right.
Oh, dear, it says right here I shouldn't be feeding that to my horse. But it was right there in a bale for agricultural use.
So who usually eats Johnson grass? Cows?
It can be fed to ruminants as well as horses. And apparently the tricky part about Johnson grass is depending upon when and how it is harvested, it can be okay for them to eat. But if the weather conditions were less than perfect, and I couldn't tell you offhand what perfect was. Mm-hmm. It has to do with temperature and time of year and stuff. It can contain chemicals that are very bad for your horse and can cause, if I remember right, it can cause neurological symptoms.
Okay.
And Johnson grass is that really, really, really tall one, and when it gets mature and gets a seed head on, it's like 5 feet high.
Yeah, I quickly Googled it, and it says that it's a weed native to the Mediterranean. Which
Really?
Yeah, which
Didn't know that part.
I mean, now this is, I can't say that I can't credit the source as being, very credible. It's sort of just this pest control, weed control place in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, it tells you what it looks like, and they can get up to 6.5 feet tall, yes. And it's really now that I see pictures of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah. So take the time to at least learn the basics, at least learn what's common in your area or what's common to your suppliers.
Right.
So that when you pop open a bale, you know what you're feeding. When you pop open a bale, you can recognize things that, ooh, this is out of place. I should maybe check on it. Horses are generally pretty good about not eating things that are not good for them. But then on the other hand, they're horses.
It only takes, it takes one one mistake for them to.
Yeah. So there we go. So we're going to wrap the hay nets and hay up for the day.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for your input, Helena B.
Oh, my pleasure. Gosh, we could keep going and going on this topic.
See what I mean?
We need to control ourselves. We're the worst two people to have the freedom of public radio or, internet radio.
Horse rambling daily.
All right. Well, until next time.
Bye. There you go. To listen to all of my tips, along with Helena, just go to horsetipdaily.com and go to the experts drop-down menu on the left. You can also stop by the Horses in the Morning show at horsesinthemorning.com, where I'm mostly behind the scenes taking listener calls and making an occasional snarky remark to help keep Glenn and Jamie on track. Helena B can be found every week over on the Stable Scoop show at stablescoop.com, providing insightful commentary and delightful suggestions to the horse world. Just surf on over, stablescoop.com. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily, because they really do make these podcasts possible. Today's sponsor has been Equestrian Collections. Visit them today for a world of choices delivered right to your door. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like us to cover on the show. You can subscribe to all of the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.